What's up, folks, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. Nigerian Terrell. Today we're going to be reviewing the new highly
Yeah.
anticipated series in Halo, coming to Paramount Plus March 24th. Now, this series will have 9 episodes. Today we're going to be talking about the first 2 episodes. No spoilers, mild spoilers. And the reason I'm going to say mild is because some of the stuff we will touch up on has already kind of been discussed. There's interviews out. I've also took part in some interviews. So it's all like public knowledge, but we will definitely let you know what to expect and how to prepare for this series. So yes, this is Halo, the first 2 episodes of a 9-episode season coming to you on Paramount Plus March 24th. And thus I say, for anybody who may have like any hesitations into getting into a new series, whether you are a Halo fan or not, it has already been renewed for a season 2. So that way, you know, you at least got 9 plus 9 if they do another 9 seasons. So what we got 18 hours of content at minimum for you. So fear not, folks, get into it. And I think I can start off by saying for the first 2 episodes, I am thoroughly surprised
Oh,
in
indeed.
how much I like this. I'll be the first to say, as a long-term Halo and Xbox fan, I throw that out
Hey,
there.
don't say that out loud.
You're crazy. You're crazy. Xbox all day. I can definitely look back in my childhood and say at a point I was like, I would love to see a Halo movie, but you get older and you start to think like, well, maybe I don't need to see that. Maybe I don't really want
Right.
that. Maybe it's out of the realm of possibilities. Maybe certain franchises are just untouchable. And to this day, today in 2022, I'm happy. And it was damn good. I'm surprised, but like taking it all in, it was damn good. I like that piece of pie that they fed us there, sir. What about yourself?
Yeah, a lot like what you were just saying. I think for us as gamers, we have been kind of like just so scared of any IP that has any going anywhere towards a TV or a movie. And you know, they've burnt us so many times, you know, Doom, and I don't even want to say various other properties where anytime you hear a video game is either getting a TV show or a movie, you like, it's not going to work, you know, they're not going to do what they need to do. And like you said, I was thoroughly surprised that they were able to bring the A game visually, acting, and everything. Like they really care. You can tell they really care about this property and they're taking it serious. This doesn't just feel like some cosplayer with an iPhone, you know, putting on a Master Chief costume doing a show. This is really well done.
Yeah. I think the first thing we should kind of address here as we kind of before we get into the review of things is that I want to put a lot of emphasis that if you do not know the lore and you do not play the games, you will be fine. You can jump into this, you can appreciate it. It will feel like something else you have watched, and I will just go off the limb and say it does sort of feel like the Mandalorian. There are elements where the two of them definitely have parallels. But that's a good thing because the Mandalorian is one of the best shows on television. But this show is unique to a very distinctive point. I'm going to say it in 1 second, but for sure, if you are a long-term Halo fan, if you are an Xbox fan, if you're none of those, if you've never picked up a video game in your life and you're just looking for your next show, I think you'll be fine. I think the reason how you even get anywhere near the interest of this is probably the cast, but also you'll probably be hearing a lot of the buzz behind it. And I think fear not, definitely get into it with a $200 million budget. It feels like it. It's very impressive. But ultimately, the biggest thing, as I talked about the comparison to the Mandalorian, this show is freaking brutal. 2 minutes in, and you're going to be your jaw's going to drop, your head is going to explode. You may watch somebody's head explode, but it is freaking gory. It is brutal. It is violent. I had no clue it was going to be that way, and even if you had no expectations, you're going to still be very much like, oh my God, what am I watching? Because it makes an impression instantly. But Terrell, I want to be before you jump in there, I want you to kind of talk a little bit about the lore and where does this exist in the Halo franchise?
So I mean, like as you know, when you jump into that first Halo, I mean that's already established. Like the Spartan program's already established, and you're kind of just being like revived, and Cortana's already a thing in the game. This is pre the games where Cortana's still in beta mode basically, and they're trying to figure out a new way to uh control the Spartans, because obviously like the brainwashing situation is not working. But this is also before they even discovered that the Halo ring even existed. Like nobody knows what's going on. I'm not a lot like the Mass Effect games. They have a ton of books and a ton of like backstory behind it all. And like I said, this so happens to jump into a lot of like the beginning of the Spartan program, and kind of like the politics of it, and what they're dealing with. If this is like what's the word I'm looking for? Just kind of getting away from like the humanity of it, like them trying to pretty much brainwash a lot of these soldiers into pretty much robots and stuff like that. So it's a lot of stuff. Like I said, you can just jump. There's so much stuff they can cover, like Halo wise, before they even touch the games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before they even get to a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And I because I talked to like I throw it back to you. Where does this first episode take us into, and what's sort of the plot and the dilemma that this series is kind of jumping us off at?
As you see, I mean, like a lot of people still don't even know what the heck the Covenant are. So this is not too far from it. Like maybe like I want to say like maybe 4 or 5 years
Okay.
before we even get to that first game. Because like as you see, a lot of people like, what the heck what's going on? What is that like? And it's a shock and a surprise to everybody. But as they tell you, like this has been like an ongoing war between them and UNSC and the Covenant, and they finally have gotten something that's tipping the scales back into their favor with the Spartan program.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And get a little bit more specific in terms of their impact on this planet, and how does, shall I say, Master Chief makes his first appearance in his first
yeah.
statement, shall I say? Take us through that a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, like I was surprised at how the balance between like CG and like the actual practical effects of them like actually wearing the suits look. All the Spartans look good. Master Chief comes in like a badass, of course. You see headshots, and all I can hear in my head is like the ring announcer in Halo, with the Slayer and all that stuff.
Double kill.
Right. That's all I can hear. But like you said, it's brutal. They come in, like the Savior's 10 minutes late to the party, and they come in and wash these Covenant with their weapons and everything like that. It looks really good, man. Like I'm really shocked and surprised, and I'm still thinking about it, how good this actually looks, how it moves, and of course being able to see this and the quality that they're giving it. Like I would not mind seeing this in a theater,
Yeah.
for like a premiere, like the first 2 episodes, just to see just how good that looked. But like I said, they came in and they wrecked shop, man. The Covenant had stood absolutely zero chance against these Spartans, and they already starting to, from these first couple episodes, they already given the Master Chief that nickname of like the demon, because
Yeah.
like when he shows up, the Covenant is scared. They're like, you dead. So, and you still hear a lot of that as the Halo series continues. They still give him that nickname and
Yeah.
various other stuff as it goes on.
Yeah, and then the little thing I want to add is, he's wearing the suit that gives him the superhuman abilities. Just if you want to figure out exactly what Master Chief we're talking
And
about
the
here.
overshield.
Yeah, exactly. And with this attack that's happened on the planet, there leaves one survivor, which then Master Chief is kind of dismissive about it, and because they actually don't care about humanity, if you want to call it what it is. But this one person survives, this person loses everything. This is Quan Ah, played by what's her name? I forgot it that quick. I'll come back to it in a second. But with her being the only survivor here, it brings a lot of questions as to, like, we hear so much about the Spartans, we hear so much about their ability, but you just come wreck shop and then you just kind of leave. Like, where does that leave her and her, in her civilization going forward? But then this also becomes sort of a liability at this point now. So she ends up being the UNSC says bring her in. And now Master Chief starts to ask questions as to what is this all about? There's some other little things that happen I don't really want to get into to completely spoil it, but this now gives him a change of heart, which heart and a change and coming off of the orders, which obviously becomes super problematic for the UNSC. So now this, becomes a journey of the two of them discovering this, trying to get and discovering this weapon that was of interest, taking them to other planets and so on. But why are we focused on that? Because that sounds much like the Halo we know. Right. And that sounds like a Halo arc that we can get behind. The other thing is, well, who is John? That's where this starts to really drive and dive into the humanity of the man behind the helmet, which, if you have not heard, the helmet is removed. It's not a spoiler. It's out there. And the reason why behind this, in this very iconic moment of the unmasking, which happens in episode 1, which also isn't a spoiler because that information is out there, is because it's the necessary actions needed to really show the humane side of this person behind this armor. This much less, when you talk about parallels, is what happened with in the Mandalorian in terms of the connection with Grogu. So, like, that's why I say where the parallels at, and which those are both iconic moments when you think about this and like the pack of wearing these particular armors. But in this case, this is really where we get a dive into who John is, learning more about his childhood. John 117, by the way, learning more about his childhood, more or less about who he becomes as an adult, the decisions he's made, the friendships he's made, and just how, just more of the heart of the person that we, as you said, is being deemed as the demon. So it's giving you that side of the character that we have never been able to explore. So this is where, I'm not gonna say fluff, but this is where you add really like the context into what the series is going to be. And it's great because the show is flat out brutal. So to give some balance to it, I think you have to do something like this, because otherwise it might as well be a horror film. Like, it's literally, and the Spartans are slashers. Like, they're coming in and they're just destroying stuff,
It definitely kind of felt like Predator for a second there when it started off. I was like, what's going on? Like, oh my goodness. That actor's name was Yaren Ha.
Thank you.
That played Quan,
Thank you.
Did a good job.
And you spoke about the CGI. I thought the CGI across the board in terms of in terms of all of the characters, but more or less the space exploration is fantastic. The closest show that I can say this reminds me of is what's the show on Apple TV Plus?
Not The Expanse, that's Amazon.
It's gonna kill me if I don't think of it.
Man. I know what you're talking about.
I'll come back to it because for whatever say, but it reminds me of that production. Very good. Your eyes are just going to be glamming the entire time as they travel through space. There's a scene in the second episode where they're going through an asteroid field, which was just visually amazing, So there's a lot of good in this, and for 2 episodes, I'm super intrigued of what's next. I'm curious about the toning. What's next? Because like the intro and the introduction, so I say, is very brutal. Then you start to feel some heart. You start to invoke some emotion. And then you basically got another space cowboy story where you just want to know, like, where do they go next? And that's always fun. It's the mystery and the curiosity of where does the story take us next.
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately for us, we're actually getting a second season for Halo that we know in advance. Which, like you said, that should give you an idea that how good this show is without us even saying anything.
Yeah, and they're invested into it, and that's always a good sign. And the foundation is the show I was thinking about.
Yes,
Apple TV.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
he's also in The Expanse. That's weird.
Yeah, very true. That's right. But other than that, I think only thing I should say is I think the voice acting in this is ill. I mean, with Pablo, obviously Manning, Master Chief, well, he still has this very sinister voice behind the helmet,
Right.
which just gives you chills. We have to talk about Jen Taylor, who plays Cortana, finally coming to life in the live action version here of herself, who she's been voicing Cortana for
20 plus.
years.
Yeah. 20 years,
So
yeah.
that's always an amazing feeling. And as a fan to see, somebody that we've heard this voice the entire time actually be able to step into the hymns of their character, which isn't a given. So it's obviously a very, very special thing to see it come to light. Who else do we need to talk about?
Your boy Bokeem.
Yeah, you got to talk about my man Bokeem as Soren, which the two of them, Soren and John or Master Chief, I am super interested in where this goes. They have some amazing chemistry in episode 2. It starts to give, I mean, and obviously there's backstory with the two of them, but it starts to give you a very almost uncomfortable relationship between two of them because you really don't know where it's going to go. There's obviously some animosity, but there's obviously like a level of respect, but there's also a level of like, get out my house. It's like it's brothers, shall I say. And I think that's always a interesting arc to kind of see two characters show a form of camaraderie, especially in their hardest time. So like I'm definitely interested on that note as well. Oh, I gotta mention. Forgot about this, folks. The hardcore gamers, they got some first person camera views in this as well that I was not expecting, and that felt bomb. I mean, you talk about how you could just hear the narration from the game. I also felt a sense of like arena styling like presence in it, where like they're moving around as first person, you actually feel like you in the game in some type of 3D 4D experience. So I feel like they cater to everybody here, the folks, the hardcore fans of the franchise, the gamers, the fans of the lore, the ones who just looking for a good show. I think it really checks all the boxes. I to be honest, I really can't sit here and nitpick about anything I didn't like, because I think it left a super good impression that I'm just intrigued to see where it go. Oh, and my last thing, and I'll be quiet, is the iconic score. They're still teasing.
That sounds good.
Yeah. I want the full blown melody, but their new renditions of it, I think, is super dope. And I mean, like, they're using all different ones, but we all know the iconic the ones from, I can't even think of the name.
Bring out the orchestra, man. It sounds
good. That's what I'm here for, right? But like their renditions of it, I think is real cool. The score is fantastic. Yeah, it checks the boxes for me.
Like I said, there's just so much attached to this show where you don't want to mess this up, right? Like I mentioned earlier, that there was something that they did Halo Nightfall before, but that was kind of like, kind of hit or miss. They just never really picked up the ground like they wanted it to. And that was attached with like the Halo 5 game. Like there was like a spinoff of that they had it before. It was, I don't know if it was an internet series or if it was on like a network thing, but this, like I said, now that we're getting into video games to movie, and they're actually doing a really good job of really giving you something good with it. Like Uncharted just came out, and surprisingly that was good. And like I said, with this and with so much that comes with it, like visually, that you have to get right. And I heard a lot of people were like, they were upset because the original voice actor for Master Chief wasn't going to be doing the voice with him with the helmet on, which okay. So Pablo has to do the work there, and it actually still sounds good. That's something that you got to get used to, but it actually really, really sounds good. And it makes him sound more human. It doesn't less of a robot than he does in the game.
Absolutely. I should also say, I don't know if we said this, but the first reveal for Arbiter, the CGI is again
crispy.
$200 million budget. It damn sure looked good, and it did. And man, I know we got to talk about. I mean, we talk about the brutality here, but oh my god,
Man,
the energy sword is OP, bro, and I cannot believe they're gonna bring that same energy to the show. It's just messed up how the energy sword was just wrecking shit the first 3 to 4 minutes of the show, bro. Like it just made no sense that they had to give people trauma. Everybody has been snuck up on at one point and got fed the energy sword. And it's unfortunate that there was a bunch of helpless civilians that also faced the same
some
fate.
guns
And it's
weren't doing
crazy.
nothing. And they put, like I said, they do a lot of iconic noises, and one of them was like the overshield being recharged, and that was really, really cool to see.
Yes.
Like you take a couple hits, and then it's like, all right, let me duck behind cover and get this recharge on real quick.
Yeah, yeah.
I am curious though as to, are they, without the armor on, without the suit, is because they are enhanced, but do they still have like Captain America strength? Or you know what I mean? Like I wonder if they'll show that, because they do show a little bit of them outside the armor, and obviously they still have the skills and stuff. But I wonder if they'll show that as the series goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of my questions as well too. I mean, one of my other questions I was wondering before was like, with them announcing that the helmet was going to come off, I didn't think it was going to happen so soon. And
Right.
I understand. I mean, and I hear them as to the reason why behind it. But I feel like with such a very iconic moment, basically happening so soon in the series, what else might they be storing up for a conclusion here? And I think that, yes, you got 2 seasons, but even without that, you still want to leave people wanting more by in the episode 9. I'm wondering what else might they try to do or explore, since they clearly have creative freedom to kind of do some things here. And I think that's a very intriguing thing going forward. It's like, what is this going to do? What is this going to tell us? What is this going to show us? Now that they kind of got the keys to the ship. So
Right. And like I said, I mean, 20 years, man, and we really still don't know anything about John, and all the games and stuff like that. So there's so much that they can, like you said, explore and touch, and it's all going to feel fresh. It's all going to be, it's really nothing to argue here, because we've never seen it before on screen or even in the game. So like I said, now you just got a face behind the helmet.
Yeah.
Finally. So
yeah. Well, folks, totally check this out. It is going to be on Paramount Plus March 24th. It is a 9-episode season. We have all intent in covering this entire season, so definitely come back through as the episodes release for our thoughts, reflections, reviews, reactions on those episodes. But jump in the comments, let us know your excitement. Let us know what other questions you may have. I feel like we covered a lot, but there could be some things that you may want to know about that we may be able to discuss. But I think you should totally put this on your things to do list. It is going to be a fun ride, and I can't wait to be a part of it with you all. So again, thank you for tuning in as always, and we'll see you back for more reviews very soon.
See you.
Big gold bell.